all right. I think it's all working, all connected. I'm going to get so much better at starting YouTube lives this month because I did one last week. We're going to do one every Monday in October. So this is something that we're going to improve. It's a bit of a technical challenge at times. All right. Yay. Okay. So just double check. If you can't see or hear me, let me know. But it looks to me like it's working. So we're just going to run with it. Thank you for coming live. It's always fun to see the chat going by. So we have a lot of our Convivial Circle members are here today. Cassie and Rachel and Ariel and Michelle. Thank you for coming. All right. So we're in Organize October. And this October, we are going through our planner because it's so easy to think that there's not enough time to write things down ahead of time, to think in advance and work it out. There's so much going on. We have so many responsibilities. There are so many options and opportunities that we just want to hit the ground running and not take the time to think things through. And it is true that we can take too much time thinking things through, or think that if we take enough time and plan completely or thoroughly or effectively, that we'll be somehow controlling the outcome, then that kind of planning is a waste of time. Because we can't control the future. We can't control other people. And that's not really what planning is for. Planning is not about control of the future or about predicting the future. Planning is about knowing where you are, what your responsibilities are, what's coming up, so that you can be prepared. You can be prepared to make the adjustments on the fly that you need to. It's not that you're going to make a plan that you will then 100% execute. And if you don't, then something went wrong. Your plan is the launching pad for life. So you're setting yourself up for being able to then make wise, responsible choices in the moment. So it's not the two extremes where the one extreme is just flying by the seat of your pants. You haven't thought ahead. We all have times like that. Even when we have a working planner, sometimes we don't use it, right? So there's just flying by the seat of your pants all the way. And the opposite ditch is to be so planned, so structured that you don't give yourself any scope or any ability to be responsive and adjust in the moment, where you your plan becomes the straitjacket. And those aren't the only two options, but it's so easy to careen back and forth between those two options. So instead, what we want as the middle ground, most effective planning system is to take a limited amount of time regularly on an interval basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, to look at our responsibilities, to make some notes to self so that as life unfolds, we know what kind of adjustments and choices we should be making. That's way more low key. That kind of planning allows a type B person to have a planner that works for them, that doesn't feel too constricting or unrealistic. And also, this kind of plan doesn't feed the type A's anxiety either. So we want that kind of low-key plan that's still effective, because you are being responsive to your life as it unfolds, and your planner is actually allowing you to do that well. So it might still look or sometimes feel like flying by the seat of your pants, but it's really not, because you have a basis from which to make good choices and adjustments in the moment. It's not just completely random or guided by how you feel or what your gut response is in the moment. There's thought behind how you are responding in the moment. So this week, our focus is on the calendar, because your calendar is the key component to your planner. If you have an effective calendar, you are more than halfway toward having a working planner. Like for all 4 of our pieces that we're going to cover this month and that we covered in the workshop, which you can still find the replay for that, there's calendar, weekly view, our weekly dashboard, a daily card, and then an interval plan. And interval is more that big picture, but not so big that it's too big. So a nice bite-sized interval. If you could only pick one of those 4, it would be calendar. If you have no working planner pieces at all, you should start with a calendar. If you have a working calendar, you do have a working planner, because the calendar is the home, the holding place for your obligations to other people. Your calendar is the key to telling you what time you have available and where you need to be when. And when you have a calendar with everything on it, then you can see what time you have and where you should be spending it. You can see ways you could maybe prepare ahead of time. Like maybe make a dinner plan that fits the actual day, because you're going to be gone most of the day, or because no one's going to be home until 7. You just kind of see the lay of the land. You see how your time is spoken for, and then you're able to make adjustments instead of being completely disconnected and like, well, I'm just going to imagine the best dinner plan for that, and then in the moment realize that the dinner plan that I made doesn't at all fit my actual week. You have to start with the calendar. You have to start where the hard lines of your day are. And then when you have a working calendar, you avoid those embarrassing situations like double booking yourself, missing appointments. You can see in advance, oh, I have to run errands on this day, so I'll just save my errands, tack an extra hour after that, and get all that done on this day so that then I have a home day. And you can start making more strategic plans in using your time wisely, because you see where those obligations are. So, if you had a weekly dashboard but not a calendar, that your weekly dashboard wouldn't be very effective. Because, maybe you would have a spot to put down your appointments for that week, but what about next week? What about when you're making that weekly dashboard? What you could still be forgetting something, right? Your calendar should have all your appointments, all your time-bound obligations on the calendar for at least a month out. Now, I love using Google Calendar and having it digital because I can set things to repeat. So like our school year is on my calendar, our classes, then I remove the classes on our break weeks. That's all set for the year. So when the orthodontist says, well, I need to see your daughter again in 8 weeks, I can go 8 weeks in ahead and know that everything that I'm obligated to do is on my calendar for that week. That's huge. And it really saves so much time and so much mental strain, right? Because if what you have going on is just in your head, then when you're presented, at the dentist, especially the dentist, because that's like, okay, how about 6 months from now? You're like, well, let's just toss something on the calendar. Is that dentist appointment actually going to show up on your calendar? Right? Or are you just taking the slip like, okay, just give me something 6 months from now. I have no idea. And you take the little slip of paper, lose it, and now you have an appointment out there. And really, you don't know about it until they send the appointment reminders, which you hopefully see. And then it's like, oh, tomorrow we have a dentist appointment that I totally spaced, and kind of scramble and get it figured out. That's not the way we want to be living. So being prepared starts with having a place to put those obligations when they happen, where you know that you will see them. So the other thing that a calendar allows you to do is communicate with other people in your family, which becomes more and more important the older your kids get. Like the little kids don't really need to be told everything that's happening. And they just need maybe the general flow of the week. Like, okay, this day we do that, this other day we do that, and Sunday we go to church. That's their calendar. But once they have outside classes and a driver's license, and they want to be using your car, and they want to get together with friends, or they get themselves a job, suddenly time management, family time communication becomes a job. And it's okay that it's a job. You're not going to get to the point where it's just automatically happening, where because we have our calendar system and it's digital and it's shared with everyone, then we no longer have to communicate about things. But you have a basis for that communication and a front line of communication. You have a place for things to go. You have a tool that you can begin helping your kids get used to using. And you can remember more of the commitments that they're making, because it's, just difficult to keep track of. Once it gets harder and harder. And when I had only, say, 3 little kids, I didn't think that I needed to look at my calendar every day. Like if I looked at it at the beginning of the week, that'd be fine. One, because I actually could keep more in my head, and what was on my week was more interesting to me. It's like, ooh, when do I get to leave the house? Because I'm not going to do it every day. Which days am I going to leave the house and for what? And then that was definitely in my mind. That's a stage of life, but it's still important even in that stage of life to have a working calendar, because that was a stage of life where I was most likely to completely miss an appointment. Because that was before texts. So the dentist didn't text you. You got a little postcard in the mail 6 weeks in advance. Well, even that's too far in advance if you don't have a working calendar to actually remember day of. And so if you don't put those here and there appointments on your calendar when they happen, and then you have a habit of looking at the calendar, you're going to get stressed out wondering if you're going to miss an appointment, right? Or maybe you will miss an appointment, and then, it's not a good feeling. That's not managing life well. The calendar is a vital tool for home and family management, and that's our job. And so then when the job gets harder and we have more and more moving pieces and bigger people with bigger needs, bigger problems too, but just bigger everything, it becomes a bigger piece of our job as moms to manage. Home management, family management, this is what we do. So it's not a problem. And we aren't looking for a calendar or a planner system that's going to completely do away with our need to have to be engaged with life and people and have to actually take time thinking things through and making sure things are up to date, communicating with people. It just gives us a tool to do that effectively. But it will take our time and attention. It needs to become a habit. This is just something we do. Laura says that her husband won't use a calendar, digital or otherwise. I have to keep track of everything. Well, I think I saw Michelle here, but we actually talk about that. So Michelle Arancibia and I recorded a couple of weeks ago a podcast episode that's coming out later in the week. And she talks about a similar situation where she just basically accepted, okay, this is my job. This is home management, family management. I don't need to nag him to keep a calendar. I need to say, okay, this is my job. And I can make that pleasant and I can make that effective. I can be a helper that way and not feel irritated or frustrated because he's not doing what I want him to do and he's not following my system. Like, okay, my system needs to be facilitating our family's real life and our family's real people. So anyway, stay tuned. It's true. So it's our job as moms to manage the family calendar pieces and to do that without becoming a nag, to do that without becoming frustrated with everyone, because it's so tempting to just set up like, okay, here, I'm going to put the calendar up on the board, up on the wall, on the fridge, whatever. And now you all put your things on there all the time. And then they don't. And then we're mad because like we made a system that requires everyone else to do something. And then we're surprised that it doesn't work. So set up a calendar system where you are in charge of it. And maybe others are giving you input. You can find ways to help them help you, but just take ownership. Understand that you have the ownership of this calendar. It is your tool and you are the owner of it. You're not setting something up and then trying to force everyone else to do what they are supposed to do. You want to set up a family calendar that facilitates communication, that helps you have your head around what everyone is doing, but do it in such a way that you are a help to your family, especially a help to your husband, and recognize that you are being a help to your children by putting in the time to teach and train and guide and direct your children. And that's not just setting something up and telling them the rules and then expecting that to work. Giving kids new patterns of behavior and giving them new expectations takes time and effort. Just telling them once and then nagging them for a few times and then giving up because that didn't work is not a good plan. That's not helping your children or teaching them or training them. So own your calendar as your planning tool, even when you are using it to communicate as a family. This is the home manager's job, and you are the home manager, the chief operation officer. It's a job, and it's not other people's job to make your life easy. But eventually, if you get in the habit and routine of it and you keep it useful and helpful and cheerful, it will become easier. Yes. So this week, be using your calendar and think about how you are using your calendar while you're doing that. What's missing? What's not working? But also, what is working? What do you like about your calendar? Because it's much easier to make improvements and adjustments and build better habits and try new things when you are starting from a place of knowing what does work and what you do like. If you are starting from a place of acknowledging what's good, you will be able to build on what's good. And if you only think about all the things that don't work and that you don't like, you will stay in tear down mode rather than build up mode. Because your calendar system is not just a bunch of problems to solve, it is a habit to build. It's a piece of your management system to build. And you build on reality, on where you actually are with the actual people you're working with, and with what your patterns already are, not with a total life overhaul. So if you're in Convivial Circle, then we can be chatting about these issues and these questions all week. And if you aren't, you're welcome to join us in Convivial Circle. We are going to be troubleshooting these issues, sharing what is and isn't working with our calendars, sharing more pictures of our calendars and how we use them. Especially these different issues with what our husbands need from us, what our kids need from us, what different seasons need from us. And if you are in Convivial Circle, if you feel like you need even more hand-holding on your calendar, then work your plan. I believe it's module 1, because it's the most important piece, right? There's a calendar module in Work Your Plan that goes over the basics and has the startup steps. And you can even just go through that or listen to the audio on the app and just kind of be sure that what you have is complete. Because you can't have any of the following pieces that we're going to be talking about in the following weeks without a working calendar. If you don't have a working calendar, but you're trying to put together those other pieces, it will all fall apart. The working calendar is the foundation piece. So it's going to be worth putting a little time and effort into making your calendar accurate, visible, and helpful for your family. So I look forward to working with you this week on our calendars.